All right, how's it going? My name's Herberto Calderon, and today we will be going over how to create a sword slash battle axe slash game prop, whatever it is you want to call it. Just to give full credit, I got this image online, just Google image. I'm not really sure how to go about, giving the proper respects, but doing this here, artofblaze at gmail.com, you can go ahead and check him out, I guess. I don't know. I just went on Google and I thought that for this tutorial, this was a simple enough battle axe that I could create to the best of my abilities. I'm probably going to switch up a lot of things, maybe like the ornate designs. I might give it my own unique attributes. But for now, I wanted to just cover a few things. So the way I brought this in is I just brought this as an image plane. So if you go here in the front view, you go to View, Import Image, and then you just go ahead and bring the image. So basically, I created a project folder also. So now I'm going to go ahead and do File, Save Scene As, and as you can see, it's in my sword tutorial project folder. So now I'm just going to call this Sword Blockout, right? So now let's go ahead and do Save As. Okay. Now we're going to go into our front view, and let's go ahead and block this thing out, just as we said. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cylinder, and I'm going to make sure that I have the subdivision cap set to 1 and the subdivision height. Actually, let's go ahead and switch round cap on first, right? So now with that said, we want to go ahead and give this, let's say, like 5, right? So that gives it some sort of pill-like form. Let's go ahead and do something like 8. So also, as you could tell, as I'm working, I got my reference on. I want to make sure I select my reference and then come here to sword reference, add selected object, and then just make it a reference. I just clicked here. All right. Now I can't interfere with my reference. I'm going to come here and I'm going to hit 4 on my keyboard, and I'm going to go ahead and scale this down significantly, just like that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I pull and maybe stretch it out a little more. Okay. So when I 3D model, I like to think about what I need and what I don't need, right? So the first thing I thought of is like, okay, I might not need the top stuff, but for now I do need the bottom stuff, the bottom geometry here. All these vertices, I can go ahead and scale them uniformly here like this, and maybe scoot this down like that, right? So first things first, what I don't need, I'm going to go ahead and go into face mode and then just get rid of it, right? So there's that. Nice and simple, nothing really complex yet. First things first though, we want to make sure we determine the scale of this thing. First, I'm going to go to my custom and I'm going to dock all kinds of things here. For example, if you come to edit, delete by type history, if you hold down Control Shift at the same time and you click, it docks this delete history function here in your custom, so you can just click now. Right, but I don't need that, so I'm going to delete that. So, but when I select this, I want to go ahead and delete history, freeze transforms, and center pivot. So what that does is it makes sure that the gizmo is set to the center of this object. So now I'm going to go ahead and scale this inward like that. And there we go. Okay. So now let's go ahead and go back into the front view. And let's do something a bit different now. Now we're going to do this thing, but with edges, right? So I'm going to select everything here, and then deselect by holding down Shift, and then deselecting here, all these faces here. I mean, edges rather, sorry. Now we're going to go ahead and Control E to extrude. I'm going to pull this out a tiny bit, and then just scale. Control E to extrude. Oh, as you can see, I have a bit of roundness right now. It's because I'm in smooth preview. I accidentally hit, when I did Control E, I hit 3 by accident. So now I want to make sure I hit 1, and that brings me back to primitive mode, essentially. The way that the smooth preview works is that this is fake. This isn't really smoothing my object. It's a smooth preview. So it's just giving me a preview of what it would look like if it were smoothed. Let's go back into the front view and go ahead and pull this out here, and then we're going to hit Control E to extrude again, and we're going to hit R this time. When I hit R, it's going to make it so that whenever I scale my edges, it's going to do it at the very center of every, like this edge has a distance between this one, so it's going to pick in the middle. Now I could just scale, and it'll scale together, you see? So now it'll scale. Now I could pick a width, which I would suggest making it along this one here. Right, so now we could kind of just look at it and then eyeball it a little bit, just kind of like, all right, that's fine, right? Now let's go ahead and do Control E to extrude again, But this time we're going to hit W instead of R, and we're going to just scale this up like this, right? So as you can tell, I was a little off there, right? And what I want to do now is I want to make sure that where I pulled from, for example, right there, gets scaled enough where I can see, for example, like right there. You see how I can see now that it's aligned? I could do the same exact thing with the vertices now. So what a good thing to do is that you definitely want to switch between vertices, edges, faces, all that good stuff. Because there's benefits to working with one or the other. For example, working with vertices, you want to work with vertices if you don't have anything you want to extrude. But if I want to extrude things, I definitely want to switch to edge mode. So for example, this up here, I'm going to select all this and then deselect all this by holding down Shift again. We're going to hit Control E, hit R, scale, and then we're going to hit G to repeat, which is repeating the last function, which is extruding. We're going to pull that up, and then we're going to hit G to repeat because that's extruding, and then we're going to hit R. R is going to scale that inward, just like we did, right? So now, instead of backtracking a lot, we can actually hit R now and see where we're at. And now let's hit G to repeat again, and that's, again, repeating the last function, which is extruding. Okay. Now, as you can tell, we're going to have to jump back, select this edge, jump back, and then hit R to kind of determine where we want that to be. Then we go back to vertices and scale. I want this one to be at a little bit of a different angle since this has some sort of smoothness to it. So now what I can do is this right here, this function is called insert edge loop. A lot of you who are not new to Maya are definitely familiar with insert edge loop. What I want to do with insert edge loop is maybe just insert it so that 3 edge loops get appended as soon as I hit it. So then now this is going to be 3 of those. I'm going to hit scale so that it gives it a bit of roundness, and then I'm going to select just that middle edge and then round it out. So now you could see if I go into my perspective mode, it's a bit rounded out now, just because I added subdivisions there, right? Okay, so what's next? You may be asking what's next. Sorry about my phone. Let me go ahead and silence that right now. All right, we're back. So first things first, right? You got to be thinking, what can I extrude now to get the rest of the shape going? Well, you got to keep in mind that when you're extruding edges, there's no geometry here or anything like that, right? The inside, you want to keep it efficient because you want to be working for a company. For example, if you want to work for a video game company, you want to make sure you keep it very optimized and use only the polygons that you need, not more. So now we're going to go ahead and extrude this out to there. And instead of rounding it out with the insert edge loop, we're just going to do Control E to extrude, right? We're going to bring it up and then scale holding R together in uniform. So now we're going to hit G, W, pull, and then hit R. So G to repeat, W, pull, and then R. This is going to scale. Now we're going to hit G to repeat again, but this time we're going to just do W and straight up. And now we're going to take a look at our reference. So obviously you guys can't see, but I have my dual monitor set up. So I can just, if I wanted to, I could just view the image like this, right, on my second monitor. So I have it right next to me, but if you guys don't have it, then it's all right. You guys can just do it in Maya, the way you guys have it set up. So now we could just go hit perspective mode and just see what it's looking like, right? So as we can see, this has kind of like a hard edge, and then it zooms out, right? So now let's just keep that in mind. And remember, we're blocking things out right now because we're not going to be adding any sort of detail for the block out. This is just blocking out the sword and getting all its dimensions correctly. So hit G to repeat again, and we're going to hit W and pull up. Remember when we were talking about that sharp edge? We're going to hit G to repeat, pull up, and then this time we're going to scale just once like this. So it's like kind of like mimicking that shape right here, all right? And if you guys don't know what I'm doing here, it's okay. If you're new to this, this is definitely not a beginner tutorial, but if you feel like you have balls and you want to follow along and do your thing, let's go. Let's do this. So basically, this is perspective mode. I hit just space. Space can have me bounce back between front view, side view, and top view. The only things that have references is my front view. But the only reason you could see it in perspective view is because perspective view doesn't really have you know, like I can't go to view image plane import image here because it's just going to be floating in this never-ending space of Maya. So you want to make sure that when you import an image, it's imported either in front view or side view, depending on what your preference is. Okay. So let's go ahead and select this edge, and I noticed here that it's a little bit too low, so we're going to go ahead and bring that up right there, as you can see. So now, another thing you want to keep in mind is you got another 1-2 sections here after this part. So we're going to get Control-E to extrude, R, pull it in, and then we're going to hit G to repeat, and then hit W and pull that up, just like that. Okay, then we're going to hit G to repeat again, we're going to hit R, pull this in, and then G to repeat into W, and then pull this back up. As you can see now, we have the freedom of bringing this up all the way up here now. Okay, so again, I'm going to go ahead and do G to repeat, R, pull this out, and then pull this up, just like that. Now we're going to hit G to repeat again, hit W, scale that in. Now if I go to insert edge loop, remember I had those 3 selected, now I could do that and round this out, just like I rounded out the other part. Then I'm going to select the inside edge loop and then round that out as well. Okay, now we're going to do, instead of G to repeat, it gets a little funky. You don't want to use it too much because sometimes Maya records certain functions like insert edge loop as the last one. So you want to be careful when you do G to repeat. So now we're going to do, now after I extruded, right, I did Control-E to extrude, now I can go ahead and hit G to repeat again. So we're going to do that there, and then we're going to grab this insert edge loop and then just click, hit R, and then scale. So excuse me if I work a bit fast and I'm not explaining a lot of things. This is not a beginner tutorial. I will be doing a lot more beginner tutorials. I just got a little bored and figured I wanted to do a battle axe, but I will be covering a lot of things as much as I can, as best as I can rather, especially when it comes to like these little technical things like, you know, adding stuff in the custom bar and all that good stuff. But why would I bore you? I digress. I'm going to go ahead, and as you can see here, for example, I have all this history. Let's go ahead and delete that. Freeze transforms, center pivot, right? So it's pretty simple. Right now, obviously, we're just blocking it out, but I'm taking a look at my scale. I'm taking a look at how it's going to look when somebody tries to, you know, hold it. Is it ergonomic? Is it going to be efficient? I also have to look at all these things here. For example, these are really sharp edges, right? I might want to bevel these. This edge right here and this one, I might want to bevel these, right? But I'm not going to do any of that just yet, right? Like I said, we're still blocking it out. We're in the blockout stage, right? This is why I named my Maya scene blockout. Let's go ahead and select this edge. Just do Control-E to extrude, hit W and pull that up, just like that, right? So now, I'm not gonna worry about this here. I'm gonna do that after the fact, and you'll see why. But for now, I'm going to do the interior cylindrical shape, which is right here. And then after the fact, what I can do is with Quad Draw, I can sketch out any of this detail here. I could, you know, make it separately and then go ahead and attach it. But like I said, we're blocking this out, so I don't want to get too crazy. What I will do is I will get its initial shape. Like right here, if you follow my mouse, if you see my mouse, I'm getting that initial shape like this, because then I'm going to get that detail after, right? So let's go ahead and get that initial shape. Control-E to extrude, we're going to hit W, and let's do R and scale that until it's up to there. And then we're going to go to insert edge loop, and we're going to do 3. We're going to hit Q on our keyboard. Q brings up selection mode, so I can select these. Scale that out like that. And then select this one, and then scale this one out like that. Just like that. All right? Now we're going to hit Control-E to extrude, and we're going to hit R. We might want to do it in perspective mode. Oh, yeah, I lost my... So, yeah, you got to be careful. Sometimes you lose your... It's so weird. My perspective view is now in this one. And my front view's in this one, so it might switch around on you. It's alright. So we're going to just Control-Z that real quick. I'm going to scale that in. I'm going to take a look at my little reference there. So as I can see, there's like this little extruded part in, so now I'm going to hit Control-E, pull that out, and then hit Control-E again, pull it out so that it matches the bottom one as much as possible. If anything, I would say almost exact. if not exact. You don't want to be guessing in 3D art. You could go into the top view, and then now we're going to do Control E again, and we're going to go and pull this up to there. Go ahead and do Insert Edge Loop again. Let's go ahead and bring this upward like this. If you didn't see what I did there, what I did is I just selected this edge right there, the one that I had originally pulled, because I just want to give it that roundness coming up. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and select this. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to take a little break and step away from the handle, and let's go ahead and build off this section here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you a technique that I learned over the years of just modeling. Like I think I've been modeling now for like 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. I don't even know. It's been a while. I fell in love right away, but one thing you want to keep in mind is that there's no real rules to how you should do things in, you know, whatever software you're used to using. I'm going to show you one way that I started doing, and then I'm going to do it, I'm going to do this side and then duplicate it over to that side because it's the exact same thing. Yeah, so let's go ahead and block it out. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to append a cube, and you may be asking why a cube? I mean, why I'm deleting these faces, but you want to delete every single face except for the one that's facing you in the front view, right? So now you'll see what I'm talking about. Now I'm going to bring that face that I have, and I'm going to go ahead and bring it somewhere like right here. Let's start from top bottom, right? Now I'm in my, I hit 4 on my keyboard, right? And that's 5. This is so you can see it. Now if I do X-ray mode right here, I can see a little bit of geometry still. I just like working in X-ray. You could beat me up if you want, if you're like a weirdo and you like to do wireframe every time, but go ahead. This is just what I do when I am trying to block out unique objects, right? So let me ask you this. We don't need this vert, right? Is a triangle bad? Not necessarily. Especially when you're thinking of like a prop, right? It's not like the stigma behind triangles. It's really not a big deal. The only time it is a big deal is if it's affecting the animations of like a character. Obviously you don't want to have triangles near the mouth of a character or whatever, but in all honesty, like nothing's going to happen if you have a triangle there. So if you want to get rid of that vertex, go ahead. For now I'm just going to leave it. I really don't care. I'm going to bring this in here like that, and I'm going to extrude once again, and it's just like when we were blocking things out, right? So I'm going to bring up my custom and load up my insert edge loop. I'm going to add 3 here, and let's go ahead and hit Q on our keyboard. Also, Q is also here. So this is Q, Q, W, E, R. Q is selection, W is move, E is rotate, and R is scale. So let's go ahead and select this edge, and I'm going to hit W and then pull that out, pull that out, pull this out, and then I'm going to select this edge and then extrude that. And this right here, it makes it a lot easier to just grab this because it'll pull it in every direction, only Y and X. It won't pull along the Z axis, especially if you're in the perspective mode and you're just working here and you want to just like pull this. It doesn't matter how much I move it, it'll only move it along the Y and the X, okay? Let's Control Z that. Now, couple things. We want to make sure that we merge these vertices. So I selected those vertices, I shift right click and then merge vertices to center. Now it's going to give me that sharp angled look. And then another thing we could do is we can come here into the multi-cut tool and we can go ahead and do just 2 cuts, just so that we can get that shape, right? Let's go ahead and go into our front view again and hit Q on our keyboard. Now we're going to select this and we want to scale, but we want to make sure we hold down Control Shift and right mouse click and then do world. Object. Oh, you know what? That didn't even do anything. For some reason, I don't know, my 2018 is getting weirder and weirder, but what I was trying to do is, and if anyone can like drop it down in the comments whenever you watch this video, is I wanted to make it so that the scaling was following the direction of this edge. So that way I could just scale in uniform, but it's really not a big deal. I could go ahead and move these in like this. looking all right. Let me look at my concept a little bit. It does look a little like this is weird because like the concept has a bit of a curviness to it, but all power to you, man. The guy who made this concept, he did a really great job. Um, I literally found it on the first search, and I just decided I was gonna start recording today. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm gonna grab these vertices and I'm just gonna align them a little bit so that they're not too like bunched up, and I want to make sure that it does have some sort of you know what? Let's go ahead and delete this, just like I said. Let's go ahead and delete that. All right. Nothing's gonna happen. No one's gonna die. It'll be fine. All right. So now we just did that one part, but look at my pivot, right? So we're gonna go ahead and history, freeze, transform, center, pivot. Boom. Nice and easy. The big three. Let me talk about the big three for a second. Modify, freeze, transforms, center, pivot, delete the history. Don't ask me why. Just do it. I will tell you why. So history, Maya records basically every single thing you do, just like when you're modeling or whatever. Here in the corner, you'll have all of these inputs that are recorded for every single time that you're like modeling something out. It'll record every single input. For some reason I can't really find it right there, but yeah. It records every single input, and what you want to make sure you do is that you want to make sure that you're deleting the history, because then Maya can just chug along sometimes, and it's just a lot easier. And then freeze transforms, basically it's as straightforward as that. You're just freezing the transforms and you're telling the location of that object to be a new one. So everything has an original location, right? It's the axis, right? Like the world axis. When you look at the grid, right? The grid that's in the middle of Maya, like that's your center like location, right? And you want to make sure that when you are modeling, you want to freeze those transforms so that you're telling Maya, I don't care what you say, this is now its new location. Okay? So it's pretty straightforward. We're going to go ahead and, just so I don't bore you guys to death, I'm going to go ahead and block this out and come back as soon as I'm done blocking it out. I'm at least going to get to half of here so that you guys get the hang of what I'm doing. But yeah, if this was a Twitch stream, usually I like to chat with you guys or talk about something specific. I don't really have anything planned to talk about. I just wanted to make my first tutorial video and, start getting people interested in Maya and using these softwares as early on as possible. For example, if you're in high school and you're interested in 3D art, just do it, man. Like why are you limiting yourself? Like Maya's free. Like you could download Maya right now, do what I am doing right now for free. I'm not even kidding. Like if you're a student, you can get it for free. You could be homeschooled and you could still get this software for free. Mainly the way they make their money is they get it from people like Pixar, right? Pixar uses this for all kinds of things. Like this does fluid simulations, mesh networks, Bitfrost. This has rendering in it, rigging, animating. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, and there's a lot to learn, and that's why I want to create a network of people who are interested in doing tutorials and learning and contributing to conversations and just overall positive, good vibes and good learning and good knowledge all around. I'm a huge fan of learning from my mistakes. If you see that I'm doing something incorrectly, please drop it in the comments. I'm very open-minded about this kind of stuff. In fact, right now I'm working for a company called Whitesnake Projects. I'm working on Permadeath, which is a video game opera, and I do a lot of things incorrectly all the time, and my director says, hey, we need this, and this fixed, and then I go ahead and fix it. I'm not going to get butthurt. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm going to go ahead and listen and try to get better. As an artist, everyone should be striving to get better. No one is perfect at anything. Even the painters, OG painters like Picasso, he would get critiques from like all kinds of people, and he would either take it with a grain of salt and not do it at all, or maybe he would. Who knows? But yeah, if you do see something I'm doing something that's incorrect or something that I shouldn't be doing, or it's mostly technical stuff. It's really like it really comes down to, it's less subjective and it's more technical things, right? So if someone says, hey, your UVs look bad, tell me why. Like, why do my UVs look bad? Is it that they're not stacked? Is it I'm not using enough UV space? Or hey, your battle axe doesn't have enough subdivisions. And then I go, oh, okay, that makes sense. Maybe I should add more subdivisions, right? A lot of this stuff is technical, like, critiques. If someone told me, hey, I don't like the color of your character's hair or the color of your character's scarf, I'd be like, well, dude, kindly fuck off, because this is what I chose to do with my art. But when it comes to technical stuff, please, I really do love getting critiques, and I love bettering myself. It's just, even if, you know what, screw it. Even if you do think the pink hair is ugly on a character, or if you don't like something, go ahead. You're totally entitled to your opinion, and you can go ahead and tell me, like, oh, you don't like it, but don't think that just because you don't like something, everybody else should. I mostly stand by the idea that if someone's giving me a critique, it better be constructive in a way that they could help me, just by saying, like, hey, hit Control F or something for, like, whatever, or, like, you know what I'm saying? It's just, like, less subjective opinions and more just technical things. Like, yeah, clearly, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that, like the main rules of modeling. But I don't know. I digress. So now what I'm doing is I'm making sure that the topology that I have is nice and organized. I want to make sure that my vertices are aligned. I'm not really aligning it to anything, but just for the sake of having clean, efficient topology, I want to make sure that I am moving these vertices along each other so that they're nice and organized for when I keep pulling. So now I do remember saying that I was going to duplicate, but I was going to make this whole thing and duplicate it. But now that I think about it, I could duplicate this below and then just keep modeling. So I might just do that, honestly. So, because it looks very similar. So let's go ahead and do that. So remember, before we do anything, we're going to go history, freeze, transform, center pivot. Boom. Nice and easy. Look at that. And there's still room for improvement, but just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control D to extrude. Control D to duplicate. Silly. And then now I'm going to do a -1 on the Y. So that makes it so it does a complete inverse of what I just did. So now, with the second one here, I could try to align it as much as possible now and ignore this one, right? So I'm going to just move this up and ignore it for now. And actually, you know what? I'm not going to ignore it. I'm going to come here, and I'm going to just work on this one only, and then align it and merge the vertices of this one, okay? If this is making no sense to you and you're lost, literally, like, go watch Mike Herm's tutorials or go watch more tutorials, because this might be a bit more advanced for, new people coming in and watching these tutorials. So forgive me if I'm going fast or if you feel like this isn't helping you, but I will be covering a lot of things, and I will be, basically every move that I make will be covering, the basics. So right now this is pretty much the basics. So I'm gonna now object mode. I'm gonna select object mode and select it, and then I'm gonna come down so that something's aligned with something, right? So this here is aligned now, so I know that that's all set. So now I could go ahead and do adjustments because I know it's aligned, and I know everything I move is gonna be perfectly aligned. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Move this here. Okay, you might want to select all this, just kind of move it. Like that. Okay? I'm going to move this here, like this. As you guys can tell right now, what I did is all these were really crooked, so I just selected them, and then if you hit the scale tool and you move them against each other, it'll straighten it out. So I'm going to do the exact same thing here, and I'm going to do it with all the edges, all the vertices here. Unfortunately, those are set in a loop, so I got to just manually do it, which is not really a big deal. Just hit Shift, and then select the edges that you want. Vertices. I'm really on a roll here with just calling everything edges. Okay. Now I'm going to select all this. Now I'm going to go ahead and scale that in like that. See? Perfect. There we go. That worked better than I thought. See? Try something new. It'll work sometimes. Maya doesn't like to work sometimes, really. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and merge these vertices. The way that we're going to merge them, though, is a little interesting. We're going to actually we have to actually combine these objects together in order for the merge to work. So we're going to go hit this button right here, which is Mesh Combine, right? And then we're going to do a merge vertices. So we're going to select all the vertices, and we're going to select merge vertices, merge vertices. So what that does is it merges every single vertice that's close to it. So as you could tell, this one's merged. It's merged. It's merged. I'm not going to check every single one, but pretty much you get the idea, right? These are all merged. If I had done something like, you know, merge each vertice, like if I didn't want to merge all vertices and I wanted, like, as you can see right here, right? They're not combined. These vertices are not combined. I could have done something like this where I select just those two vertices, do merge vertices to center, and then I could select every single one of those edges. Oh my god, I'm on a roll. So select all those vertices, and now as you can tell, I'm going to be doing G to repeat all the way through like this, right? All the way through. But again, I don't want to do that. I'm going to just go ahead and do merge vertices, right? So now I got this block out shape, but we're really not even close to done yet, right? So we have a whole lot of things we got to do. First off, we got to determine, you know, how thick is this blade? Well, first off, it's sharp here because, you know, it's a blade and it's supposed to be sharp, but then it has some sort of thickness here. I could kind of tell, like, this is thick and it's merging with this here. You see there, it has like that kind of like shape there that has like this, I don't know how to explain it, but it kind of bridges itself over to this, kind of like, sort of like a hinge, but not really. So that's one thing we really, really want to keep in mind before we duplicate anything, right? So I'll show you what I mean. It's better done than said. Said no one ever. But okay, so now that's at the center. Now we're going to go ahead and go to the top view, and let's go ahead in the top view and just move it so it's exactly there. Why not, right? Perfect. It's front view, perspective. There we go. All right. That's aligned. Now, one thing I got to keep in mind is this here, this edge. If I look at it, it kind of curves up and then it goes in like this. Curves around like that. This here, let's see. That's this part. This comes in like that. So now I'm keeping in mind, like, this has to kind of like sort of blend with this a little bit. So let's go ahead and try to do that. We're going to grab this vertice, move that there. I'm going to Control Z that. I want to make sure that these vertices are nice and straight. So I'm going to do the same technique that I did with the R, by holding R and pulling in with the scale tool. And that straightens out all the vertices there. Let's see. How could I go approaching this? How could I approach this? Let's see. So now, I guess what I could do is I might just like finish up the handle. So I'm doing Control E to extrude, right? And I'm gonna scale this in like that. I'm gonna scale this in like that. And we're gonna do the same thing where we hit Control E. You know, before I pull it out though, I want to just pull this inward and then hit G to repeat and then pull it up. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and do G to repeat, pull it up, hit R. This has roundness to it. I like to stay at 3 for this very reason. But it's really easy to just switch back and forth, so I just switch back to 3, scale that, scale this, and then hit E again, Control E again rather, not just E, but there we go. And now I'm going to align it to the tip of that, and then I'm going to go ahead and switch to vertex mode, select all of those, and then do merge vertices to center. See? There you go. I just finished that top part real quick. There you go. I would say this maybe should be beveled a little bit. You see? So now we got the cylindrical part, and this thing kind of just like sits there, it just plops in. Let's go ahead and delete the history, do the big three. So now we got this, we've blocked out this battle axe, sort of. I'm going to show you how to put this over to the next area. So let's go ahead and select this. After doing all the big three, we're going to hit Control D to duplicate, and we're going to do -1 on the X. Basically, you do -1 on scale X, Y, or Z, depending on what you're trying to duplicate, and it's according to the world axis. So you could see, I want this to flip over to this side perfectly, and I want that to be along the X. So as soon as I hit enter, it'll go ahead and do the exact thing on the X side, on the X axis. Okay, so that is the block out tutorial on doing this battle axe, and on the next one we will be doing a lot more modeling, guys, and girls. We will be doing all kinds of modeling. So we're going to be adding, extrusions where we need them, beveling parts that we need to. For example, I was mentioning beveling this over here. We're going to be using the quad draw, my favorite tool ever. We're going to be activating symmetry with quad draw so we can create some of these cool designs and some of these extrusions and stuff. And then after that, I will make a video on the modeling / UV cutting part of things, and then I will go ahead and texture this in Substance Painter. If you liked it, go ahead and subscribe. If you want to comment down on the comments, go ahead. My email is going to be in the description.